Welcome to Uncompromised, the podcast where we talk about regenerative agriculture and the economics of farming and how we can uncompromise the industry and the food that we eat. Today, we're going to be getting into what happened on the farm this past week, and then we're going to share a little bit about ourselves, our backgrounds, and how we got into farming. But before we do, consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel. We're on a mission to restore the soil on our Ohio Christmas tree farm by transitioning to fully regenerative farming practices. We're also bringing chestnuts back to Ohio, and we're developing a business model that will one day allow our farm to become profitable in an era where the economics of farming are questionable at best. Is any of this possible? Do you want to find out? Because if so, I think you're in the right place. So get subscribed, learn with us, and be a part of our new farming blueprint that's designed for the next generation of farmers in America. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. I am Kyle, this is Kevin, and we're joined by Tom. He's a barn cat. There's a few others around here that might make an appearance.
He used to not be a barn cat.
He was an indoor cat?
Yeah. And then Barney Binks happened.
Go bother him.
No. Tom, we'll do a close-up on you later. You can do your own background and bio. It'd be great.
So it's kind of a stark difference between this podcast and the last one in terms of last week it was like 20 degrees out and freezing and we were dressed in our winter coats, and now it's actually pretty nice out.
So you notice how your dad had his beanie on and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Before we came out, he's like, I'm going to wear my Advent hat. And then he put the beanie, over it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's going to take that off for the podcast.
Well, at least he thought about it.
He did, 100%.
So yeah, let's get into this past week and what happened on the farm this past week. So it wasn't like a super busy week. We didn't do anything in particular other than just finish planting, but there was a lot of miscellaneous things.
It depends on who you ask. It wasn't busy as in we need to get 2,400 trees in the ground. But your mom started mowing.
Oh.
And your dad's out, like, currently out putting down the pasture mix in field 7. And this is, I want to say it's either day 3 or day 4.
So he should be almost finished?
He'll finish up today. And then we'll be putting the last bit of equipment in and finalizing touch-ups. Finalize getting the coffee hut ready to get on the road on the 8th.
Jeez. Just hair floating around everywhere.
Definitely drinking some of that this morning. And then I did a few things to the egg mobile, worked on their watering systems a little bit. Finally finished my rain gutter system, which
we had all summer last year without. Well, I mean, it still functions.
It still functions
somehow.
Yeah. I think the way it works, because so the drain pipe is offset from the hole, I think as the water runs in, if it's a slow enough of a flow, it kind of trickles back this way and into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you planned that though.
No, not at all.
And then also the baby chicks are growing. I mean, it's another week of growth on those, which is going fast.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them yet, but
it is. So Reagan and I sat in there a few times this week, but the difference between the meat birds and the laying hens is just insane. Size-wise and just temperament-wise. Like your mom was talking about it as well. With the meat birds, you can, if you put food in your hand, they'll just come and they'll sit right on the edge of your fingers and just sit and eat. And it's a little, yeah, they're twice the size, but it's like having a little chicken nugget, big old chicken nugget, just laying on your.
Is that what you're already thinking of them as food?
I call them little nuggets, man.
So it's the Cornish crosses versus they're little baby Cornish crosses that are in a breeding system they're also with Rhode Island Reds.
Rhode Island Reds, yeah.
Yeah.
So
For now, we'll separate them once they get a little bit bigger.
Yeah, so your dad and I were talking about that the other day too, because we were talking about whether or not I need to get the other chicken tractor over and fix that one up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna send out the Cornish cross about 3 weeks before visceration day, and give them about 3 weeks out in pasture, and then once those guys are meat, we'll put out the laying hens, because the laying hens need a little bit more time in the brooder before they go out.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
and we almost need like a mini tractor for 6 birds and one of those 10x10s.
What's your plan on the Eggmobile? Because the version 2 of the Eggmobile.
Version 2 is, it'll be on a hay wagon. I'd like to do it on an 8x16 or bigger.
Mm-hmm. Probably just go big or go home.
Right. So do it on an 8x16 platform. And then thank you for the love bites, Tom. I appreciate that. Can you see that?
Yeah, my whole hand is,
Like,
this cat just slobbers everywhere.
thank you for cleaning up your drool. That was very nice, Tom. So 8x16, I want to do the hingear style nesting boxes in there, so we don't necessarily have to go in. We don't have to change out straw or bedding or worry about the nesting, because that's, the more we do this, the more we learn that doing hay and whatever bedding material, it's just doesn't work very well. We end up losing eggs. We end up spending way too much time cleaning eggs. And by we, I mean your mom and dad, pretty much.
Well, could you still put that AstroTurf in those, the ones you already have built?
So I could.
But I know that they're not an angle, but maybe you could build, are you able to retroactively build an angle and then put AstroTurf on it?
I could, but then, so I could rebuild our current nesting boxes. I would have to take all the metal off, and I would have to completely redesign them, because it also needs, not only does it need to have the rollaway, it needs to have a hatch area that they can't get to. So even like in the nesting boxes that we have, the hingear ones I made for their winters.
Yeah.
You remember we were looking at the nesting mesh, and they started scratching away and pecking at it and everything like that. So anyways, the little plastic pieces that sit up like this,
Yeah.
they started scratching away at that.
Oh, okay.
Dude, this is just next level. Tom, do we need to come up here an hour early to love on you? So,
Hop right back up.
right, 100%. New person. So I could do it. I don't know if it's worth doing it though.
Yeah.
Because the other side to that, I'd need to do it in the wintertime,
Yeah.
because I don't think I could get it completed in one day and have them able to be into the Eggmobile locked up at night.
Yeah.
So,
Just one improvement we can make to the version 2.
version 2, yeah. I also want to change the feeding system a little bit, so they're a little bit more spread out there. I think we're pretty pushing the limits of the Eggmobile we have right now for them to be able to eat comfortably in there. So I need to come up with a better way for them to all be able to eat. And it might be, since,
Honestly, it would be cool if you could create a contraption where you could like just pour the feed into it and then it like auto distributes across the trough.
so
Or I mean like just gravity
gravity feeds.
feeds across the trough.
The trick to that would be getting it to pull all the way out. So might be able to do it where you get like an auger and just hook the drill up to it, and it just augers out food all the way down the trough. but I'd like to put it in the middle of the trough because the next egg mobile we're not going to have to get inside of.
Yeah. I don't know. You should either Google, there has to be something that already exists and maybe you can like reverse engineer it.
That's
Or if
right.
you,
That's how I do most of the things.
maybe someone out there has a better idea. All right, you're on my keyboard.
Tom.
So, all right, as far as my week
Um,
went, my week was boring, I'll say that, but it consisted, so on the first of the month, every month, I have to kind of go through our finances and do all that, which is extremely boring, but it's a very important part of, any business or farm operation. And I'm not an accountant. I do work for accountants as my day job, but on one hand, I'm good with finances, but I'm also not a numbers guy at all. So uh, I kind of drew the short straw for being the finance person for the farm. So
I think some of that is you're also the tech guy
yeah,
and you are very computer literate.
yeah. So that ended up being my part of it. But anyways, so the first of the month comes around. There's a couple things that I do. One is we decided a couple years ago that we're gonna follow the profit first methodology when it comes to finances. So profit first is very, very popular
Sorry, Tom.
method and framework that many people follow. But if you don't know what it is, just briefly, it's a book. It's called Profit First, and it's essentially, it means that the basic formula is revenue minus profit equals expenses, as opposed to the more common way to look at finances. Most people think of it as profit equals revenue minus expenses, or your revenue minus expenses equals your profit. And you're just kind of flipping that around. So revenue minus profit equals your expenses. So it forces you to operate your business within a limited set of money in your OPEX account. And then that's the other half of it, is that you basically take your bank account for your company and then you divide it into 5 envelopes, which are income, profit, owner's comp, taxes, and operating expenses. So that's what we do. And I go in and I divvy up the income. I actually do that twice a month on other days, but then I have to pull bank statements while I'm in there on the first of the month. And then I go through our income and divvy that up across the counties that we operated in or that we sold goods in, and then calculate the taxes, the sales tax, file the sales tax report for the state of Ohio. And then I go into our QBO and I reconcile every single transaction for that month and make sure we have our receipts and everything was documented. And that it'll actually get a little bit more complicated come this next month once we start the coffee hut, because then I have to go through the coffee hut and make sure that we're paying. We have a vendor who sells keychains through us, so I have to calculate his sales and give him his compensation. And there's a few other things I have to do. So it's essential, but very boring. And it's something that I'm learning how to do. So QuickBooks is something that we started using, I think, a couple months ago.
Beginning of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it was like February. I think we skipped January, but
Well, I think we started in January. That's when you started going through and getting ready for tax season and realizing how
yeah,
jacked up everything was.
that's when our accountant who files our taxes at the end of the year, he recommended that we start transitioning to a new accounting system.
Essentially said, you guys need to do something because whatever you're doing is not working.
Yeah, it's our old system was free. So we used a shared Excel document where we tracked all of our expenses. So we would each go in every time we had an expense and fill in every line item on each column for that expense, and then we uploaded a copy of the receipt into a shared drive.
Yeah.
And that was working. It's honestly a good method if you have like very simple finances, very simple expenses. But once things start getting complicated or you intend to scale up to a certain degree, that will become problematic, and you eventually need to have like an official accounting system. I initially wanted to do like cheaper alternatives to QuickBooks Online,
Yeah.
but then we all came to the consensus that QuickBooks is the industry standard. Even our accountant recommended that one. And you told the story about someone you know that used to that. What is that noise?
I That's a cat.
It's not coming up on the microphones, but there's a weird like cat noise, I guess. Anyways,
It's a mixture between a bird and
yeah, it sounded like a bird.
cackling and
Hmm.
anyways. So
They were using another company, and then they had to like later on in their operation they had to transition to QuickBooks, and that was like a multi-year process, and it was very much a headache.
well, and that's I feel like from your description of it, so learning how QuickBook operates and then trying to backlog receipts and get everything in order. Like you did it
Yeah,
for a year and some change,
yeah,
and you said it was a pain in the butt.
yeah. So on that note, this, since we've transitioned to QBO, it actually has not improved the amount of time and effort that I spend doing finances on a monthly basis for now. However, and this is the important part, as we scale up and things, once we scale up and we start incorporating different forms of income,
Right.
things are going to get very, very much more complicated. And as we scale up, the amount of effort on my end it'll still go up, but it'll be
Right.
it'll be much lower on the chart compared to our old system, which would be like a hockey stick.
Right.
So the two juxtaposed together on a chart, you can like I'm just envisioning a stark difference as we scale up. But for now, I don't think it's actually paying off, but it will pay off in dividends later on. And I think that's the reason why we wanted to do it as early as possible.
So it hasn't paid off for you. It's paid off for me
Oh, well, that's good. At least we're getting something
because
back.
literally all I do is take a picture of the receipt now.
Yeah. So there's an app on your phone, and you can just
Yeah.
take a photo and then upload it right to the app is cumbersome though. Like you would think something like QuickBooks would have the resources to make like a slick app, but I found it to be very buggy. But as long as I don't actually use the app unless I'm uploading a receipt. So as long as you're just
Right.
doing that, it's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, if you're a coffee drinker and you're looking for a solid brand that supports regenerative farmers, then check out 7 Weeks Coffee. It's what we use on our coffee and chestnut hut because they're faith-based, they have a great mission, and their Dominican blend is sourced from regenerative farmers. They do not sponsor us, but because we use them in our coffee hut, we have an affiliate link that we can share with you guys. So if you use our discount code ADVENT, you'll get 10% off of your order, or use the link that's in the description below. It's a great way to support our channel and our farm, and you get a discount on great coffee and we get a kickback. So it's a win-win. And I didn't know how to use, I don't know, I don't even want to say that I know how to use QuickBooks now. This was the first time I've ever used any system like that. I didn't even know, like I had to learn the vernacular of like basic accounting too, like I knew what reconciling meant, but I didn't know exactly how to do it or what it entailed
Yeah.
exactly. So like having to learn every single thing, like how to reconcile transactions, how to even categorize transactions based on I forget the form number, but there's a special tax category for agriculture that has a laundry list of expense categories, and I had to individually add every single one of those into QuickBooks in a way that we can classify things and make sure everything is tagged correctly. And then it was a whole thing. It took me like a solid month to learn how to use QuickBooks. And I mean, outside of my job, so like, in the evenings and on my weekends and stuff, I would learn how to use it by watching YouTube videos or skimming through the help documents on the
I was
QuickBooks
like, you said you
website.
spent a little bit of time on the helpline with somebody having a
They actually have a lot of resources for how to. They are very good at teaching new people. They actually, yeah, I called. When you sign up for an account, you get to call them, and they'll have a dedicated person that will spend like however, at least an hour. We were on the phone for a couple of hours, and they'll stay on the phone for as long as you need, but they will walk through everything and make sure you understand how to use their services. So that was actually
No, that's
pretty good.
nice. Once again, glad it wasn't me.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're very be glad that wasn't you, because by the end of that phone conversation, I was
Just drained mentally.
I don't drink alcohol, but I really wanted to have a stiff one after that.
So, yeah. So you got that done, and then
And by the way, my dad said this earlier, but our egg sales were pretty good this month.
were they
Yeah.
good? I mean, we've seen a steady incline, and you would expect that to continue up as the layers move out to the field and they start their the natural uptick of laying progression for
Yeah,
the year.
right.
We're hitting that now. So I would assume that that's gonna, as long as we can move them,
Mhm.
sales are just gonna keep going up,
Yeah, I mean, the demand is higher than our supply.
which is the exact opposite of last year.
Very the opposite of last year, and it's making me wonder if we need to order more. I mean, we did order more hens, but I don't know if we ordered enough to maintain. But I don't know. We'll see. It's a
Yeah.
learning process. There's really
Right.
no way to know for sure.
So I'm interested to see. So did your dad tell you that one of the egg customers asked if we do meat birds?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have interest in meat birds, and we haven't even done our first batch, not for sale, anyways,
Nor have we even like announced
advertised or anything.
anything about that. But
So that's a positive.
that is a positive.
Um, yeah. So I'm trying to think what else. We got the last 400 trees in the ground in about 2 hours.
Yeah, that went pretty smoothly. So there was a box of concolors that arrived later than we expected. So as soon as we got that box, we put all of those seedlings in the ground.
Yeah.
So we can say it now, we're officially done with the planting season for this year.
For Christmas trees.
Right,
We still have chestnuts.
but that comes a little bit later.
Yeah, we got probably close to a month before we put those in the ground.
Yeah.
He said he has about 5 that have popped up in the greenhouse.
Mm.
So we'll see there. Looks like if we don't get rain here soon, I'll be out in the field watering chestnuts here probably this upcoming week.
Yep.
Yeah, because it definitely hasn't been a very wet spring as of yet.
Yeah. A little worrisome.
So, yeah. And then
we're just getting the coffee hut ready for the next season. So
yeah,
we got it inspected by the health department. I think that was actually a couple weeks ago. And then you've done some work to it, getting it prepped, and
yeah, not much. Like I said, really all we have to do is put the espresso machine in there, get it hooked up to the water source. We'll brew nitro. Your dad will brew nitro this week.
I think he's gonna make that today
Yeah.
because I just ground. So I have we have a couple of 5-pound bags of coffee, and I ground one of them up for cold brew.
Yeah.
And we'll turn into nitro cold brew. And he also went to the 2 locations that we set up at
Yeah.
and made sure that we have the permissions to do that again this season. So we should be good there. I still have to go and add the schedule for the coffee hut and put that into a calendar, which syncs to the street food vendor, and kind of make sure that everyone knows, or it's easily accessible online.
Yeah.
So you can see where we're going to be on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And then I have to update our website for that too. So there's a few back end things I need to work on.
So, yeah. So I'm trying to think. Yeah. Other farm wise, I did not really do much this week. Like my day basically consists of doing things for animals.
Hmm.
And then helping when your dad needs help. But yeah, no, other than that, it was a relatively easy week. My week just slowly starts to ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
I think your dad enjoys the tractor way too much to let me.
Yeah, I'm surprised he kind of just hogs that.
That's like his escape, man.
Yeah, he must
He
really like
finds
that.
peace out there.
Because he didn't even ask you to help.
No,
I don't think he did that either. Or last year you had to like
I think
tell
I
him
had to
to.
twist his arm
Yeah.
last year. He'll think, hey man, I'd really love to go out on the tractor and spend some time. All right. Like,
I mean, that's good. I did that one season, and I was on. It actually wasn't. It was kind of. It's one of those things where you can like listen to a podcast and
right.
kind of zone out.
Well, and that's what we talked about. I was like, do you listen to music or are you just out there in silence?
Right.
He's like, I normally listen to a book or,
Yeah.
some music. And I was like, why don't you do podcasts? I'm sure there's a ton of them out there that you would enjoy.
Yeah.
He's like, I just haven't taken the time. Haven't taken the time to find one I like. I was like the amount of, like, I feel like your dad would like some biblical podcasts and stuff like that he would really enjoy, but also the farming side of it. And
Yeah. He doesn't. I don't think he uses any of those, which is honestly is a good thing. I wouldn't recommend that he does any of that because it's. I don't know. If you're off of social media
oh,
or like any kind of content platform, just stay off of it. You don't need to get back. You don't need to get on that stuff.
so yeah, there's been a few times where we've talked and like customer will come up to the coffee hut or something like that and they're just dropping profanities and he's like, that's so surprising to me. I'm like, it's not even a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I don't think he understands the degenerate nature of the world we live in today
Yeah.
because it's pretty bad out there.
So, so
Speaking of degenerates, let's get into our origin story.
thanks, man.
Hey, I'm wrap myself into that too. You are going first though, and I wanna provide a little bit of context and briefly say that the farm. This is a Christmas tree farm that was started by my dad, Scott Anderson, and he was on our last podcast, and he started it in 2006. You and I are both military brats.
Yeah.
We're around the same age. We grew up. We actually met when we were kids on Beale Air Force Base in California.
Yeah.
And my dad, he retired, I think in '06 as well, or somewhere around that time frame from the Air Force. And then he started working as a contractor for, at the time it was Booz Allen Hamilton, and then he moved around to the University of Dayton Research Institute. But he worked full time as a consultant, doing, at least initially it was a consultant, and simultaneously building and starting the farm and planting the Christmas trees. There's over 15,000 Christmas trees on this 47 acre farm. And that's how Kevin and I became onboarded for the farm. We'll get into that at the very end. So you'll tell your story of how you got here. I'll tell mine of how I got here. And then we'll both kind of like merge the stories at the end. And that's how we ended up here. So I figured that would be the structure of it. So
we'll start in California.
yeah, so neither one of us has farming and has experience in farming. So why don't you tell your story, your background, and how you got here?
Okay, so we'll start in California.
Okay.
I don't remember what grade exactly we met in. I think it was fifth.
I was fifth. It was fifth. Yeah. Well,
so-
I was there for fourth and fifth grade.
okay, so then it had to have been fourth.
Right. But I don't think you and I met, and we didn't meet until
Till
fifth
fifth
grade
grade.
because I didn't know you in fourth grade at all.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly how we met, but I know that I went a whole year without knowing you, I believe.
Okay. So I know, Scott, your dad, was my dad's commander. They hit it off, but because of fraternization rules and everything like that in the military, we couldn't hang out.
Or they couldn't hang out.
Well, they couldn't hang out, spouses couldn't hang out. Like, you can't really control what kids do. You can to an extent, but like in some ways it would be frowned upon. Like if you came over for a sleepover at my house, especially like back in the early 2000s, they were way more strict about it.
Yeah. By the way, I had so many sleepovers at Beale, like with all my friends, and then I never kind of.
I don't think we ever had a sleepover.
No, you and I did have a sleepover
At your house?
No, it was at your house. I remember I slept in your room
On the bunk beds?
on the bunk beds, and I think you woke up like in the middle of the night and threw up or
Nice.
something. I remember he like got sick.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, that's why I remembered it. We played. You had a Nintendo 64, and I think we played like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater or something.
Oh, that's awesome. So- I don't remember that. I remember playing like Hot Wheels in your room upstairs,
Yeah.
and I remember Petey the dog, and how Petey was like the first time I understood that chocolate doesn't kill all dogs because your dog ate so much chocolate.
Yeah. I still think that might be a little bit of a myth. We gave him little tiny like quantities,
M&Ms and
but
stuff. So our dads got together, and then at a Air Force ball or something like that, our moms met, and they hit it off immediately. Like, they're very crafty people, enjoyed painting on rocks and everything, so they would sneak off and go on 2-mile walks and pick up rocks and stuff.
yeah.
And then your sister Megan and my sister Alicia also got along. I don't think they were as close, but they got along very well. And then you and I hit it off, and I was, in your mom words, I was an instigator, not down necessarily the path that your mom always wanted you on. Like, like, I don't know, there was several times. The big one that comes to mind is when we were out playing in the rain for like 3 hours, and we came back just soaking wet, and it was
And muddy.
muddy, and we dragged it through her house, and she was not happy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen your mom actually ticked off at me. So from there, like I said, we couldn't go camping together, and your parents enjoyed the outdoors. Your dad definitely did. I did. And we couldn't really do anything. So you guys PCS to Virginia. And then about a year later, we got orders up to Alaska. And on our way up to Alaska, we drove from California to West Virginia. And we went camping together, played in the mud. Do you remember all them?
Yeah. We went to a sauna too. Wasn't there like a pool with a sauna?
Maybe.
I remember that was my first time in a sauna.
Weird. You remember
very
different.
I remember very random things, but all the big important stuff I forget.
Sauna.
Very random details.
So, but I remember like playing football. You and I went out on some muddy road, and we were playing in the mud and stuff. And that was the last time I'd seen or talked to your parents up until 2008. So that was in like 2002. So it's about 6 years went by. No contact, no nothing.
Yeah, you and I didn't have any contact either. There was no social media or Facebook, so we couldn't like.
Well, there was Facebook, but
I didn't have a Facebook account at that time.
Really?
I got into it pretty late. I was like 2015 or something when I started.
Smart move.
Well, I shouldn't have done it in the first place, but.
So in 2008 is when we graduated.
Yeah.
Yep. So that summer, my parents got a divorce, and my mom moved here so she could work out on the base, but also be close to her family down in Kentucky. And so I drove a U-Haul full of my mom's stuff with her Pathfinder on the back of it.
Where were you moving from?
Clovis, New Mexico.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Beautiful Clovis. It's the only place that when we PCS to it, my mom cried as we drove into the town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So was it just barren?
It was just southern town, still had brick roads. It wasn't like we were coming from Alaska too.
Oh, okay.
So
very big difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
So anyways, parents got a divorce. I'd enlisted in the military, but I was in the DEP program, so delayed enlistment program. And came up here, moved my mom into the RV barn where she slept or stayed in the RV while she was getting back up on her feet and getting things situated. So that was the first time I'd seen your parents in a while. I don't think in '08, I guess trees had been planted, but I don't remember trees. I remember
They would have been very small,
very small, but I remember,
and it would have been out there in the front.
yeah, in field one. What I remember is riding four-wheelers with Megan and Harley and Molly chasing us on the four-wheelers out in the pasture.
That you and I did four-wheelers. Maybe
I know, I remember doing it with Megan. Were you there?
you and I did four-wheel. I think this was the first time you visited the farm,
Yeah, probably.
and we did like a bunch of loops back there
Oh,
in
yeah.
the pasture, the back pasture.
Yeah, where the burn piles are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't remember hanging out with you much while I was here.
I think that was the only time we hung out. I think we also went to Young's Jersey Dairy with Megan. So it was you, me, and Megan.
I don't remember doing it. I remember, so your dad was trying to talk my dad into going in on the Christmas tree farm. And so we took a trip out to Young's Jersey Dairy, me, my dad, and your dad. I don't remember the time frame. Like, I don't remember it.
Yeah, these might have been two different times.
Right. But after that, I went down to St. Louis and I lived with my grandpa for about 2-3 months, and I worked in his construction business, doing all the fun jobs like, hey, I need you to dig a trench that cuts through all these tree roots next to this house. Yeah, so that's what I did all summer, and then joined the military as a pavement and construction equipment operator in the Air Force. Got stationed up at Eielson, up in Alaska. Did 3.5, 4 years there. Then went to Montana, where I was in the 819th Red Horse, and learned a lot. So the Red Horse, I learned a lot more. Like, I did a lot of snow removal up in Alaska, did some work on like upkeep on back roads and stuff like that, running graders and doing stuff like that. And then Red Horse is where I learned more concrete, asphalt, a little bit of some well drilling stuff, running tractor trailer, loading equipment, everything, hauling all that. A lot of large scale project stuff and a lot more sea time and equipment. And then after that, I did a little stint after I broke my back. Not military related, happened on active duty, but riding four-wheelers, I broke my back. And then they pulled me.
Like, you completely broke it?
I fractured, I had a thoracic lumbar fracture in 4 vertebrae, 2 ruptured discs. So out of the ways you could break your back, it was like the best way you could do it.
Is this your lower back?
It's my lower back. And so instead of breaking the circular part of the vertebrae, there's like little flanges on the back that keep your spine from folding on each other. So that's why you can only bend so far back, really. So I broke essentially 4 of the little tabby things. Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, super fun. Reagan was 6 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So, yeah. So after, and the military was kind enough to say, here's drugs, you're good, go back to work. Like, so I did that for 2 months, and then I talked my commander or someone in the chain of command into getting me put into readiness, which was a desk job. So that was the first time I'd touched Excel. That was me learning Word documents, everything like that. That was my introduction to a computer environment.
How old are you at this time?
25.
You didn't
25.
you didn't know how to use Microsoft Word until you were
I knew
25?
the basics. I knew how to pull up the document.
Can you type? Do you know how to type?
I know how to type.
Like, actually type, or are you like a finger?
No, because of that job, I learned how to type correctly.
Okay. So you can do like,
Yes, I type like that. But so, yeah, I could do it before, but it was very much so down here looking at the keys type thing.
Well, at least you're not a finger typer.
Yeah,
Like
chicken pecker.
yeah. There's like like new, like young kids right now. If you like, a lot of them don't know how to type.
Right.
And they like, if you take any like, even kids like Reagan's age right now, just put them in front of a computer and they're gonna be, that's how they type because they're used to the phones, and no one taught them. They don't teach this anymore in school.
Oh, do you remember doing that in 4th or 5th grade where they had the thing that
Yeah.
covered the keys and you had to?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
They had little the games on these
yeah.
like they were like floppy drive games, and you would put them in and teach you how to type.
Words that aren't used very often. Floppy disk.
Yeah.
Oh. So that's where I started to learn all that stuff. And it was a very, like, they just kind of shoved it in my face. They're like, hey, here's all the training records for the entire squadron and also all this other information. I need you to update this Excel document. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about the equations. The equations should be good. So the dates should auto populate. And I'm like, I don't know.
Equations.
Well, I did what? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know any of that, guys.
Oh man.
So I ended up putting together a package and submitting it to the commander, and for us to hire someone from Microsoft to come out and teach 2 people from each career field. So, structures, plumbers, HVAC, and heavy equipment, and myself and another dirt boy who had also done very little with Excel, who was up in readiness. We went out and we took this class and we learned how to do macros, all that. Like, got real deep into Excel. And so I reworked every single Excel document. And yeah, it was, once I learned how to do it, I don't remember how to do most of it now because I haven't touched it in 10 years.
It's probably all automated by now.
Well, I mean,
Well, we're talking about the government, so I don't know.
yeah. But yeah, learned how to do all that. And then once my custody battle was finally settled and I had full custody of Reagan,
Keep talking.
who am I going to talk to? Tom, I see you. I think your mom might be home.
All right, I'm gonna have to edit that out, but my dog was barking at the mailman, and I had to go.
Lady.
Mail lady, sorry, I had to go deal with that.
Huh.
Anyways, where were you at? You were saying something about Reagan custody.
Yeah, so 3-year battle with custody over Reagan. So I'd already been naturally, I'd already been talking to my commander about this for like 3 years, and my first sergeant on my chain of command. And at this point, I had like my favorite commander that in my military career. And he was very supportive of what I was going through and knew the situation. So he was like, hey, once you have custody, we will do everything in our power to get you away from here, you and your daughter away from here, so you can, one, be in a less deployable unit, but also so you and your daughter aren't in this situation that it's not a positive situation for your daughter to be in, and it's not healthy for your headspace type thing, right? So I got custody in like February and I PCS'd in May. So ended up full circle back at Beale, where I was put into another desk job where my job was to go around and inspect all the pavement on the base, all of the projects that were being done on the base that were asphalt, concrete, railroads, dams, bridges, all that. That was my job there. I did that for 6 months before I was tasked to deploy. And so did my deployment, brought Reagan out here. between training and the deployment itself. Was gone for 8 months. Didn't see Reagan for 8 months.
Mm.
Got back from my deployment, and before I'd even seen Reagan again, they were like, "Hey, man, you're tasked to deploy again." And I was like, "My enlistment's up, and no,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna re-enlist."
If you didn't have Reagan,
I would have stayed.
you have stayed?
I would have stayed 100%. I wouldn't have tried to leave Red Horse, and I
Mm.
probably would have never ended up at Beale again. And yeah, it would have been very different.
Hmm.
Like, which is probably like blessing in disguise, because my hands wouldn't be any better than they are now for sure. And since I've been out, I've had 2 surgeries on my right hand. I've had, well, more than 2. Just, yeah. So probably a blessing in disguise, that I got out and everything. But also, I don't know, Reagan's changed my life in such a positive way in so many ways that it was just for the best, probably. But it's kind of like as time goes on and everything, and I'm looking at like the guys that I've served with and everything, and they're like, one of them is actually retiring right now, which blows my mind.
Mhm.
But it gets me thinking, like, if I would have stayed in, I would have a year and a half left before I retired from the military.
How many years do you have to
20,
stay until you can retire? 20?
20 years. So yeah, because I enlisted in '08 and attended basic uh the 25th of November 2008.
Mm.
So I would be just about, with, separation leave and everything like that, I'd have just under I'd have about 2 years left before I could retire,
Mm.
which is just, yeah. And that was the plan. The plan always going in was to do 20 years. But it is what it is. Ended up separating, moving to Ohio, which, I mean, in all reality, the only reason I didn't move to Montana was because I didn't want to move my daughter back into a situation where it could open up another custody battle.
Mm.
So ended up moving to Ohio to be close to my mom so I could have some support with Reagan and everything like that, plus to be close to my mom.
Mhm.
Lived out in her house, which was a 930 square foot house with the 3 of us, and it was tight.
Hmm.
Um, but started looking after about a year and a half, started looking at buying houses and everything like that. And one came up for sale on the backside of the Christmas tree farm, and came out and looked at it, and I was like, told my mom as I was looking at houses, I was like, I'm looking for a house that you can also move with us, because the neighborhood she was in wasn't great. Her house had been broken into a few times. And
Mm.
so I was like, we'll find something that's big enough so you can sell your house and move as well. So came out here, looked at this place, wasn't going to look at it. Only reason that we came and looked at it was because it was next to the Christmas tree farm.
Mhm.
Saw it, put in an offer that day, and yeah, 3 months later moved in and was working out in Nevada. So I'd fly out to Nevada, do 10 days on, 4 days off. And at some point, it kind of clicked that what I was doing was no different than a deployment, really. Like, I wasn't raising my child. I wasn't spending time with her. I was missing so much. So quit that job, decided that I was going to go to school for civil engineering. So started that, and was about a year and a half into that program when the conversation about, ooh, those nails are sharp, Tom. I'd been working here and there on the farm, helping your dad whenever he would ask for help. because there were times I'd come over and I'd be like, "Do you need help today?" And he'd be like, "No." I'm like, "But do you need help today, Scott?" He's like, "Well, we got this going on. If you want to come over and help, you know." I was like, "Yes, that's what I'm asking." I try. I want to be here. I want to be involved in the farm. Um, so he started letting me help and whatnot, and then the conversation about Christmas tree nurseries kind of creeped in, and Megan, your sister, was pretty heavily involved in that. I don't remember all the details, but essentially we started having that conversation, and it looked like we were going to head down that road. That way we were growing our own supply for the Christmas tree farm. We didn't have to worry about outside sources. Plus, there is a lot of potential for some serious income there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those another one of those things where the demand is higher than the supply for Christmas tree
Yeah.
seedlings, and
It-
so there's not a lot of nurseries out there for Christmas trees,
yeah.
heavily for Christmas tree farms. So that's why we were interested in that.
Well, not only that, so as like even looking like the conversation we had last week, where we have narrowed it down to 3 tree species that grow well on our farm, that meet the demand of the customers that we're seeking, right? Some of the trees that we order are coming all the way from Oregon because we can't find a local supplier.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the conversation, like, we grow the trees that we know grow well here in Ohio, support our local farms in this area, but we can also have outside demand from different. Hi, Tom. That's so nice of you. Uh, but we can also fulfill orders and meet customer needs. Hi, Joey. Customer needs from outside the local area, right? So there were it was a pretty brochure.
Yeah.
Like, it was making sense, and we started pretty. We didn't get super far into the research on this, um, but Hank, your dad and Megan were talking, and I believe Megan had mentioned something about, if we were going to do this, that she wanted me to come on and be part of it. So I was mowing my lawn between classes or homework or something like that, and your dad called and he said, "Hey, why don't you come over and we want to talk to you about a few things." So I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll be over as soon as I finish up mowing, whatnot." Came over, and as soon as we sat down, it had that super official, this is we're talking about important stuff here. Mind you, we're out on the patio.
Yeah.
I think we were having a beer, but it felt different. And I was like, I knew what the conversations had been going on between your dad and Megan. And I was like, oh, I hope they're going to ask me. Trying to stay, trying to keep a straight face, poker face. And then they're like, how would you feel? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm in. I didn't even finish their statement. I was like, oh, no, I'm in. I've been waiting for this for a while now.
That's funny.
So yeah, and then after that, we approached you, and I mean, you and I kind of had this conversation where I don't think anyone thought you had any interest in coming to the farm and being a part of the farm. So this might not sound nice, Kyle. It felt almost like a formality of asking you if you wanted to, 100% assuming that you were going to be like, no, I'm good. Like, you guys got it. Like, 100% expected that to be the outcome of that question, was just a no.
Why did you think that?
Because, so, hey, I'm gonna put this in perspective. To me, an hour drive isn't far. At this time,
Hour 20
okay, hour 20.
times 2 because I got to go back.
Dude, I drove 6 hours for Arby's and back in one day in Alaska. So, like I say, perspective. For me, I was like, hour and a half drive there and back.
I'm also working full time.
I'm not trying to insult you, man. It's like,
It's kind of a big ask.
I, perspective. And you're very different than me.
Right.
Like, I've driven multiple hours just to go have lunch with a buddy who I haven't seen in 2 months.
Sure. If you have like the whole day off.
No, no, I'm different, dude. So, like,
And you got to go back and work the next day.
yeah,
And I don't know. I don't think our schedules are
I don't
the
sleep
same.
as much as you.
Okay. Well,
Like,
all right. Keep going. Keep going.
I'm not trying to be mean.
I'm not saying you're trying to be mean.
So, but yeah, so it just didn't feel like, from my perspective, and I'm not going to speak for Megan, but from my perspective, it didn't feel like you wanted to be a part of the farm. And even when like we were doing Christmas tree stuff, which in all fairness, I don't always enjoy it, especially with the way we were doing it back then. It wasn't necessarily a fun thing to come out and plant trees or come out and decone or do any of that. That wasn't necessarily the fun part of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So we just didn't expect you to say yes. And I wasn't part of the conversation where you were asked, but from what I understand, I'll let you tell it. But it was, they asked you if you wanted to be part of it, and you were, once again, instantly, yeah, I want to be a part of this. That's kind of how it was told to me. And I was like, cool. That is,
I'm confused. Weren't the three of us, you, me, and Megan, all on that patio at the same time when we were all asked, or were you asked before and then I was later?
I think I was asked before.
Because I remember him asking you while I was there.
That's a long pause.
I know.
Well, I don't remember now.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter, but
Oh. So, but you answered pretty quick though.
yeah.
Yeah, like, because
Also, by the way, I wasn't living in Ohio.
I thought you were in Columbus.
I was living in Columbus at the time, but I had just moved to Columbus. I was living in Oregon since 2018. So I'm out of state. Like, I don't understand why. Okay, anyways, we'll get into that in my story, but
My bad.
I had just moved to Columbus, Ohio.
I thought you'd been there for a while.
I mean, I may have been there for at most a year, but I think it might have been a little bit less than a year.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah.
but so that kind of brings us to
Yeah. Go ahead and
the formation of where we're at now.
so let's tell your story, and then we'll meet back up.
Yeah, we'll meet back up there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So my background is quite different from yours.
Yeah.
After the whole Beale Air Force Base thing where you and I met, my background's mostly in advertising and graphic design initially, and then it's since shifted over to marketing communications, at least when it comes to like the work side of things.
Okay.
And over the course of my career,
Well, hold on. So you guys moved here after Virginia, correct?
we moved from Virginia, yes, to Ohio, but we were living
Out on base at
Wright Pat Air Force Base. Yeah.
Okay, and then bought here in 06.
Yeah.
So you did 2 years of high school here locally.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll start there. While I was in high school, because when I was in high school at Northmont here in Ohio, I started a screen printing company called Lucid Teas, and that's when I got into screen printing pretty early on. It was actually a little bit before that, but I bought a it started when I went to Michael's, the craft store, and I
Yeah.
bought a silk screen kit for beginners. It was just like a little wooden flimsy screen with some little bit of ink and a squeegee, and that was basically it. And I just got into screen printing and I really liked it. So I taught myself how to do that over the years. And when I was a junior at Northmont, I worked at Landa's Meat Market,
Right.
and it's a little like an are they Amish or Pennsylvania Dutch?
I
It's a pretty well known, pretty big operation. They like slaughter and process meats and sell it, kind of distribute it across.
I don't know.
Well, at the time they had a retail store.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say their business models changed a lot in the last.
anyways, I worked there. I was a cleaner, so they had after school. I would go there, work for like 4 hours every day, and I would clean blood and guts. So basically, they had like their bandsaws,
I
and
can't
they
picture
had
you
like their
doing
whole
this.
meat processing thing, and then they would take them apart at the end of the day and shove it. There was a big room with a pressure washer, a sink station, a giant tub of like soap water, and then like a sani station. And you get full dressed up in like a water suit, basically. And then I go in there. The room is filled with industrial equipment that's just rancid and covered in grime.
Was
And I
that
just
your
go in
idea?
and I clean it every single day.
Was that your idea to go work at Landis?
It wasn't the only place I could get a job.
Oh, okay.
Somehow I found out that they were hiring, and I applied, and
Okay.
they hired me.
That was I want a job. Job. That wasn't
Yeah.
I need a job. That was I want a job, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in high school. I don't need a job.
Yeah. I have such a hard time, especially at like you at that point in your life. I have a hard time seeing you being happy to.
It was a hard job.
Yeah, because that's a fast paced job. It's a dirty job.
It's a dirty job. I didn't hate it.
No?
It was the most physically demanding job I've had besides the farm.
Very different high school
Though,
jobs.
so I also worked at Wendy's at some point, and I worked there for 4 days.
Oh,
That was the worst job I've ever had. I hated it. It wasn't physically demanding. It was just the worst job. But I would take Landis over that any day of the week. But
my high school job, lifeguard. Until I blew out my eardrum. So very different.
yeah, very different.
And I lived in Clovis, New Mexico, where we were surrounded by dairy farms.
Hmm.
Like the town smelt like cheese and cow manure. Like,
Yeah.
so the fact that you ended up in that job and I ended up having nothing to do with the farming industry
Right.
when I was surrounded by it.
Right. I don't know.
Jeez.
But I
Bird fight going on.
worked there for a while, and then I saved up money to buy a industrial 2-color 1-station printing press.
Okay.
And a whole bunch of other equipment. So I bought the press, a flash dryer, a whole bunch of squeegees, ink, emulsion, UV light kits. I bought everything that I needed to do professional screen printing. And so I taught myself how to use all that stuff because, again, I'm going from like a Michael's $20 kit for beginners, actually it's for kids, to a professional screen printing setup. So I taught myself how to do all that, and then I started learning how to do graphic design. So I taught myself Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, because I had to be able to, well, first I was experimenting with my own designs and I would screen print those, but then eventually I would start getting orders, and wanted to start a business out of it. So I would have to learn how to like manage and handle their files. And more often than not, they would come to me with no design at all, and I'd have to design it. So I kind of had to learn how to do graphic design. And the other side of it, I also learned I actually formed the LLC. So I learned how to do that. I learned the taxes side of things. I learned basic HTML and CSS because I built my own website. Because at the time, this is like 2006, 2007-ish.
Very different world.
There were no turnkey like Squarespace where you can just sign up for a subscription and you get a website. You had everything was manual. You had to buy the domain. You had to buy a hosting service and server space. You had to connect the two manually, and then you had to use an FTP client to upload your index files onto the hosting site and then make sure that everything was working. And it was a very manual process. And I had to physically code my index and my HTML files and connect them to the CSS documents. That's how you built a website in 2006. And that's how I did it. I also stumbled into an untapped niche for screen printing because there really were no printers in the area, like in the vast area at the time. So I also, if there were any, they definitely didn't have websites or they had really shitty websites. So that was kind of like that was me being different from the industry standards.
Setting yourself.
Yeah, setting myself apart. And I just stumbled into an untapped market. So it was actually a pretty good gig for me for a while. And I had a friend in high school that was helping me out too. He was helping me spread the word out and getting me orders.
Yeah.
And eventually we got orders from the high school at Northmont. So I started printing shirts for the women's volleyball team because my history teacher at the time was the coach for the volleyball team, and he found out about it, and he and I talked about my screen printing business after class for like an hour one day, and then he gave me an order. He's like, "Hey, can you print 100 shirts for the women's volleyball team?" And then that snowballed into like the basketball team and then the track and field and all that stuff. So I started printing shirts for the high school, and then word got around to like local businesses. There was a Irish pub over in Trotwood that I did some work for too. So that was pretty nice. And then I learned I learned that I really enjoyed the graphic design and the business side of things.
The aspects, yeah.
And I absolutely hated the selling and the strategic relationship side of things. And I still do to this day.
I was gonna say, not much has changed in that aspect. But
And so at this point I'm graduating, I do this for a while. I graduate high school, and I decided that because of those two things that I loved and that I hated, I decided to go to school and study design. But I ran into an issue where I couldn't I came up with a game plan one day where I wanted to go to the Columbus College of Art Design in Columbus. That's where I wanted to go to school. I couldn't get in because I never took the ACT or the SATs in high school. And I became obsessed with this. So I researched, I really dug into this, and I found a loophole where they were connected, they were affiliated with a school, a small 2-year school in Kettering that also taught design. And that school did not require an ACT or an SAT. They required other things, but they didn't require that. And I was able to check off my list of requirements to get into this school. So I applied to get into this school, verified that my credits would transfer over after 2 years to this school, bypassing the SAT, ACT. Yeah, I actually did go to take an ACT test.
I was going to ask this question.
I did it twice. I failed twice because this was post high school, so I had to go into another school's cafeteria system, which was jam packed with people.
Yeah.
At the time, I had real bad anxiety, and I also do really bad at tests in certain situations, and I immediately had a panic attack, and I turned it in incomplete. I went again, same exact thing happened. So I literally couldn't take the ACT test, and that got me obsessed with finding a loophole. And so anyways, I literally became like obsessed with this, and I did that. So I went to school to study design, eventually moved to Columbus I transferred my credits over, started as a junior at CCAD. And when I did that, when I moved to Columbus, I stopped Lucid Teas entirely because
Okay.
I didn't, it was regrettable now, but at the time I didn't understand the power of delegation and how
Right.
to really run a business using other people's help.
So in Kettering, you were still doing Listen?
A little bit, not as much. Like I was doing it very, very periodically.
Okay.
Again, I didn't really understand the power of delegation, so I was kind of phasing it out at that time. So after I graduated CCAD, I could not find a job. I I applied to hundreds and hundreds of job listings over the course of 8 months, and I would get interviews, but the thing is I'm not a people person, especially at the time, and I don't think I'm just looking back at it, I must not do well in interview situations because I went to many interviews and I never got the job. Every single interview that I went to, I got the interview because they looked at my portfolio and I have a really good portfolio, so I can get my foot in the door, but that interview never progressed to anything. So 8 months of a grueling process of trying to apply to different jobs and not getting anywhere was really demeaning. So there was one person in that whole process that during the interview, he said, "I can't hire you, but you have a really good portfolio. How would you feel about me giving you a few projects as like a freelancer and then we'll take it from there?" So that got me into the world of freelancing and I started
Right.
doing that. And that snowballed into through word of mouth also. I ended up getting a ton of freelance gigs over the course of the next 2 years, and I was working full time every single day, 7 days a week for I was doing at least 60 hours, sometimes like upwards to 80 hours a week
Yeah.
for 2 years, and I didn't have a single day off. And so this eventually led to burnout.
Yeah.
But what I did was I started another LLC that I called this one Special Division, and that was my so-called design firm. Firm's a strong word, but that's what I did. I did freelancing for a couple of years, and I learned that taught me a lot of things, including the world of app design and the world of startups in particular, because one of my clients was a startup. They're actually still around. They do like turnkey gift registries for like IKEA and Kohl's and a bunch of big names. But I learned the inner workings of like startups and app design, taxes for LLCs, which is more of that because I fell into a few problem areas where it came to taxes as an independent contractor. I also, one of my clients was for film production, so I learned a lot about screen printing and film production, which kind of leads me to some of the stuff we're doing now.
Right.
I learned about the power of saying no and like delegation and pricing gates. So when you're dealing with a lot of like low level clients, you can use a strategy called, I don't know what it's called, but I call it pricing gates, where you hike your price up in order to filter out low level clients so that the high level clients that are willing to pay that higher price will continue in and ask about work for you, and then you can start doing work for them at a higher price, and they're much higher level clients that pay premium prices are much easier to work with than low level clients. So that's a way to like if you're limited on time, which I was, my time was maxed out.
Yeah.
I was exploring different ways of like filtering the
Trying to get the clientele that you wanted,
yeah, trying to
essentially.
get the clientele I wanted, trying to find a better use of my time and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which is pretty valuable.
So were you in Columbus still here?
Yeah, this was in Columbus.
Okay.
So anyways, so eventually this burnout led to me accepting a full-time position, a full-time job. Again, like this was another reset where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I just want a 9 to 5 where I'll only be working 40 hours a week and then I have my nights and weekends back and I can figure
Right.
out what to do that way. And so I got a pretty good 9 to 5. It's actually the same job I'm at right now. So this was about 10 years ago. And again, this is a common theme of obsession where I became because I had my evenings and my weekends freed up now. I'm now bored and I used my obsession, my boredom to experiment with more ventures and LLCs.
Right.
So I started a lot of different side hustles around this time. I started one called Squirrels Forever, which was at the time there was a thing where you could buy a bunch of domains that you thought had value,
Okay.
buy them for cheap, and then hold on to them. This was like 2014, 2015, around that time.
Right.
There's an internet bubble going on. There's a lot of startups at this time. A lot of people are buying domains. So if you can buy like a really high value domain for low costs and hope and bet that someone will come in and be like, hey, I'll give you $10,000 for this domain.
Right.
That was the idea behind it.
So the squirrel was.
It was just a
Hiding it.
goofy name.
Oh, okay.
And I had the domain.
Okay. I was like, got it. So you're going finding this LLC
Yeah, I
or
mean,
this
that was the-
domain nut and hiding it away.
Exactly. Well, because I do branding, branding is one of my favorite things to do. So that was the idea, that these little things were like acorns, and I had the idea of like a squirrel hiding them away and collecting
Okay.
acorns. It was really stupid, but
No, I like it.
I mean, wait till you hear the next one. The next one was called Dr. Quack's T-shirt
I
vacation.
remember that one.
Really?
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Why
So
do I
it was like
remember
the brand was like it was a, what do you call them? It was a pink flamingo with like sunglasses, like at the beach on vacation. And so it was like a t-shirt. Basically, I was back to designing t-shirts, but I didn't print them. I was drop shipping them. So I would design t-shirts and then I would drop ship them as they were ordered. And so
why pink flamingo? I'm curious.
I just like pink flamingos, and his
So-
name was Dr. Quack. He was a gynecologist.
Okay. So do you know like the pink flamingo thing with your dad?
My dad, no,
Do you know why you have pink flamingos?
because my mom likes pink flamingos.
I may have this story wrong, but I want to say it started in California. The enlisted guys, like, and you know how they used to fork lawns?
Fork lawns.
Yeah, you would cover the entire lawn in like plastic forks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
They did that with pink flamingos
Uh-huh.
in your front lawn.
Really? I don't remember that.
You have pink flamingos all over here. Your dad doesn't really like pink flamingos.
Did she keep them?
I think so, but also like periodically, I'll buy your dad pink flamingo things, like just because I know it triggers that memory of the time.
right.
Like
Yeah.
so, but yeah, he has a pink flamingo statue that's made out of like nuts and chains and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, I bought him for that up in Michigan because every time I see one now, I'm like, oh, Sir Pappy'd love that. He
He
doesn't.
doesn't.
So the gynecologist.
Yep.
I like how he has a backstory. It's important.
Oh yeah. It never went anywhere, but I just came with a backstory. And then there was another one called Grim.rip, which Grim is GRYM.RIP. That was the website, and it was whenever a celebrity dies, like James Seymour Hoffman or something, or is that his name?
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about.
Betty White or something. Like whenever, because you'll get like whenever like a big name celebrity dies, I would put their like obituary on this website.
Yeah.
And so the idea was that you could go to this site and see like a running list of the most recent celebrity deaths.
Okay.
And it was funded by ad revenue. So that was the idea behind it. I actually built it out and everything. Never really went anywhere, but my point is that I started and I just created a whole bunch of these like weird little side hustles that never really went anywhere. So sheer boredom.
Your boredom led to a whole lot of website design and
Yeah.
yeah.
Just trying to like explore different ideas for no freaking reason whatsoever. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but
Well, I mean, it kind of helps in the long run.
yeah.
You're pretty good at designing websites now.
But then I eventually came to another hard reset. This is another pattern where I decided to quit my job and move to Portland for grad school. I wanted to study grad school and move out to Portland. And so I quit my job.
Graphic design.
It was, it would have been a master's in graphic design. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to remember because I have an associates of applied business and advertising art, BFA in advertising graphic design, and then an MFA in graphic design. And so I quit my job, and as I was getting ready to move, they actually came back to me and they gave me an offer where they were like, can you stay and we'll just hire you on as a remote employee? And this was 2018, so this was
Oh,
before like work from home was more prominent. And I was like, heck yeah, man. So because that was really, I didn't have like a job planned out. I had a savings. So my idea was just go out there, move to Portland, start school, and then like find a job out there somewhere.
right.
But I would just live off of my savings in the meantime. So that kind of solved my problem. So I stayed with the company, moved out there, worked remotely, and did school full time. And at this point, my main focus at this point was my career. The whole reason I needed an MFA was because my ambitions were to work at Leica Studios, which
Yeah.
Leica is a movie studio. They do like claymations for Hollywood, and they did like the box trolls. They did Coraline.
Yeah.
They do a bunch of like really big name movies, but they're a prestigious studio that I wanted to work for. Or Pentagram was another. They were kind of like Pentagram is I think the largest, most prestigious design firm in the country, and both of these required like MFAs just to get your foot in the door. So this was my like ultimate goal, and so I pursued that by moving to Portland. And then in 2020, obviously COVID hits, and when I say Portland, I'm living downtown. I'm living downtown Portland during all of this. And then the protests hit shortly after COVID.
I thought you were already back in Columbus
Oh no,
at this point.
no.
So you were out in Portland during COVID, during the
In
defund
the
the
thick of it,
police.
downtown, in the thick of it, it was very weird because once in March, like when COVID hit, the whole city was a ghost town. So I remember like in the middle of the day riding my bike all throughout the city, and I was the only person out there. Not a single car, not a single human being out there. It was like Vanilla Sky, the movie,
Yeah.
and you're just running through like the downtown city, and there's just no one there. It was very surreal. And then,
I can relate to that actually, because I was still traveling back and forth to Nevada at this point. So I would have an entire airport to myself. I would have the entire flight was empty except for me,
oh wow,
which was great.
yeah, it's just eerie
Just
though.
super weird. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I
And then,
also just trying to imagine Portland
yeah,
empty is just kind of hard to do.
there was a short period where it was just dead, and then the protests hit, and then it became a different story.
Right, complete opposite, polar opposite.
So the city was literally burning to the ground at night, every single night. So during the day it was fine. Then in the evening, as soon as the sun goes down, you would have these like, I think it was during the summer if I remember correctly, because I remember seeing like flocks of kids just heading downtown every single evening, like they were going to a party. Like they were just like hyped, all excited, having a good time, bringing like beer with them. Just it was like a party. Like it was the hip thing to do was to go downtown and protest like it was
Yeah.
a high school party. It was so weird. And then as the night goes on, almost like clockwork. This went on for months, by the way, and I mean every single night around, I don't know, 9, maybe 10 o'clock. Everyone in the protests are officially over at that time. But then the real protest begins where they would literally burn the city down. And I mean, the whole city there were SWAT vehicles, helicopters everywhere, bombs going off, like actual flash grenades, like all, and I, I'm trying to sleep because I have a job,
Right.
and trying to sleep when there's like helicopters, spotlights shining into your apartment, flash bombs going off every single day or all the time. Looking out the window and seeing like cars on fire. This is an actual real scene of Portland at the time. And I remember one night there was a gang of like protesters came down my street. They lit a car on fire. Then they started throwing Molotov cocktails into my apartment building. They were trying to light the building on fire. And there were people, this is the stupidity of Portland. There were people, my neighbors around me, yelling out the window. They were like, I was just protesting. I'm with you guys, but please, I live here. Please don't light my building on fire. And anyways, they never successfully lit the building on fire, but they were trying to, and they broke all the windows along the first floor. And at this point, I've this caused a complete like mind shift and priorities in life
Were you like,
because
man, maybe I don't want to live here?
yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Strangest thing.
well, I yeah, it's almost like when your city is burning to the ground, those career plans that I had of like working at Leica and stuff, those big grand career plans just no longer felt important. And so I had to shift my priorities from I was, at the time I'm living in a city that I'm in that like owning nothing big city career lifestyle.
Right.
And I knew like I had to transition to a more like sovereign, self-sufficient, more independent lifestyle. Like I had to, it was just a complete mindset shift. So I had to like literally sacrifice those career plans and I threw them out the window. And I just had to like I had to leave Portland. So I went through like another reset where I moved back to Ohio. So on a whim almost, I just packed up my stuff in a U-Haul and then drove out here, which my drive from Portland, from Oregon to Ohio was also very eerie because there was just no one on the roads other than semi truck
So when
drivers.
was this?
The summer
20.
of 2020. I don't remember, but
Okay.
yeah. The only people on the roads were semis. And it was actually quite
I
nice.
was
It
gonna say
made the
that sounds
drive yeah, it
fantastic.
made the drive it was the easiest drive ever.
Yeah. So you cut across Montana, South Dakota.
No, I went through Wyoming
Oh, okay.
and, like, a little bit the
Nebraska,
top half of Utah,
Colorado,
Nebraska, yeah, Colorado, yeah, a
Colorado,
little bit of Colorado,
Nebraska.
yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
didn't go that far north up to Montana. Um, but yeah, so I moved back to Ohio and, lived in Columbus briefly, in Westerville, and then, I was still working at the same place, so I ended up, like, going back to the office for a little bit, and then at some point, I got that phone call from my dad, and then we had that conversation about the farm, and we talked a little bit about succession plans and stuff like that, but the timing of it all, I think, was just super it was very serendipitous, so
Right. So
and I was again, so now I'm back in Columbus and I'm just doing a 9 to 5. My evenings and weekends, I get bored, and so I am
right.
looking for, like, another thing, and I am really interested in, like at this point, I'm more interested in farming and being outdoors and learning how to just be more self-sufficient, and
Right.
I really like the idea of, like, growing things too. So,
Okay.
again, the timing was just very serendipitous, so, we started working together and, we were doing the nursery, like, we were talking about the nursery plans and stuff, and then I bought a house out here in West Milton, and I moved out here, and then I read a book called Restoration Agriculture by Mark Shepard, and
Yep.
hooked me on regenerative agriculture, and then you guys read that book, and to my surprise, you're immediately hooked on it, and
So
then
that one surprised you.
it surprised me that you guys were 100% on board with it, because it involved
A
I thought I
drastic
would have to
change.
talk you into it over the course of many years because it involved completely changing
Everything, all the
everything.
practices.
And to my surprise, we didn't really talk about it. We just kind of like
Just
all
match.
together, we naturally just shifted away from the Christmas tree nursery and just started without even talking or acknowledging it. You just got
Yeah.
into the regenerative side of things and then that just progressed and it all just like it felt right. And I'm really happy with the way that happened, but it's also
Yeah.
very strange, I think, the way it occurred.
I mean, so there's the part that still is regrettable to me is kind of when Megan decided to walk away.
Mhm.
And I understand the reasons that she decided to do it and everything like that. And yeah, I kind of, I wish she was still a part of this journey with us, but
Yeah.
I understand why it happened. But yeah, the books that we ended up reading, and we'll go through those in a later date.
Yeah.
Because there's a list of books and
Yeah, we have like I mean, there's at least probably 10 key books that I think everyone who's interested in this should read.
yeah,
And yeah, we'll go over that in a
yeah.
separate thing.
So yeah, that led us. I just it's always interesting because we really haven't had the conversation about one your decision to come to the farm and like the fact that hey I it surprises me that it surprised you that we were immediately on board with that. Be- like the thing so when I think of surprised, I was surprised when I half jokingly suggested the coffee hut to you, and I was surprised when you were like, no, I'm in.
Yeah.
So and then we were both surprised when we thought it would take a ton of convincing to talk your dad into it, but that wasn't that long of a conversation either.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know why we're still surprised because so much of what we do, we're all pretty much on the same page and have the same end goal in mind.
Right. Which has been really, really nice because there's actually two other LLCs that I didn't even mention in my story that I started. One was Night Shift Custom Apparel, where I started yet another screen printing company later on. And then the other one was the Milton Press. Both of them were actually the more successful ventures that I've had, but not to go into those. But well, I was going to tie that into what were you just saying?
Oh, how we're on the same page and everything just kind of, we all have the same end goal. And like without much conversation, we all can see how what new venture leads us to the same point. I don't know where you were going with your
I was going to
LLCs.
connect these two somehow.
Yeah, I never understood the Milton newspaper one. I don't know. I when you said you were doing that, because that was as we were doing the farm, the coffee hut, and everything else, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm doing the Milton newspaper thing." I'm like, "When are you gonna have time to do that?"
Yeah. Well, so that one was probably my favorite one of all of them, really. And I actually was getting a lot of traction with it. Like I was getting almost on a daily basis, I was getting stories, just random stories from my email from people submitting them. And there was a lot of interest in it. I was getting a lot of viewership. But yeah, ultimately I had to choose between that one and then the farm.
Yeah.
Once we started getting more involved in the farm. And it was kind of a no brainer, but yeah, it was, dang, I wish I had remembered. I was going to connect those 2 points together. Anyways,
And there it goes.
yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
You'll think about it as soon as we turn off this camera. You're like, that was it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but so much of your background leads to things that we want to do here. And I mean, even like the podcast, the YouTube channel, educating the customer and everything like that and telling our side of the story. So much of that is 100% all your trials and tribulations along the way and everything like that.
Mhm.
Like most of what I do is I'll run equipment and take care of the animals and like just daily things here on the farm.
Mhm.
And especially as your dad starts stepping away, I'll end up attempting to fill in where he's letting off.
Yeah. Yeah, and the ultimate goal, because like I mentioned this in the beginning of the podcast where I kind of describe, I do a little bit of an intro where I say that we're trying to create a business blueprint
Right.
that will allow us to become profitable, where we can you and I and my dad can earn a living off of the farm and not have to rely on outside income, which is kind of a rare thing and very, very, very difficult to do in today's modern agricultural age. And if we can create that blueprint, then maybe we can put it out there for others to kind of follow. And so that's one thing we're trying to do. And I would love to be able to one day not have to do a full-time job during the week and then just work here on my evenings and weekends, to just be able to do this full time,
Right.
because it's very hard to do. And yeah, for obvious reasons, it's
Right.
obviously hard to do. And the more time you and I can dedicate to the farm, I think the better.
Right. Yeah, no, the more time you can pour into something, the quicker the payoff is going to be, I think. But also, I think some of that, even like with the podcast and everything like that, is nailing down exactly how we're going to do it. Like, we're not even sure that this is the model for this yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I think in some ways it's going to be interesting to see, like, I'd like to do it'd be it'd be interesting to do one with like Nicole and Megan, do a podcast with Nicole and Megan with us
Mm.
and have a conversation with them about it, because like your dad talked about, Nicole has come out and helped plant trees, and she's seen a lot of the growth and changes here over the farm and everything like that. And Megan has had quite a bit to do with the farm as well, and she's opinionated and we love it. Like, I I enjoy my conversations with Megan and Nicole so much that I think it would be very interesting and fun to have a podcast with them on here.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm sure we
But
can make it happen at some point.
yeah, we'll do it Thanksgiving week
Yeah.
as we're gearing up for Christmas tree season and stuff.
Yeah, it's not like we won't have anything else to do.
Yeah, right. We're never busy. Like Thanksgiving's the worst time to do it.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh my
It
gosh.
actually might be doable. I don't know.
Yeah. So,
But anyways, that kind of brings us back to where we're at now. I don't know what year we're on. It was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 years since we started Advent Fresh Market, the LLC.
right. So, yeah, I mean, I had a full-time job a year. Like, I've been here on the farm, not being supported by the farm for about a year now.
Mhm.
Um, because before that, I was doing school for my agricultural science degree, and then I struggled to find a job. Like, trying to find a job on a farm that could help support was like impossible. So I got a job at a metal manufacturing type facility and did that for about 9 months. And that's when it made more sense. Like, I can get by on my VA disability. Like, it's not a comfortable living by any means, but I can get by not working a full-time job and being able to throw as much time as I need to into the farm, into the coffee hut and everything like that.
Mhm.
Would love
Which is super helpful,
it.
honestly. I don't
Yeah.
know if
Yeah.
things would be much more difficult if we didn't have
Right.
that.
You and I were both working full-time jobs, being able to get the trees in the ground when we did
Mhm.
and being able to be here when I need to be here,
Mhm.
it would be hard. The coffee hut wouldn't have,
Yeah, I don't think we would have been able to do that.
no.
So yeah, it's nice to have all these things kind of come together in the way that they have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, I'm excited to see where this goes, and to see. I mean, we're on the cusp of finishing the restoration process of our chestnut field, and I'm excited to see livestock get put out there here in a little bit. I think that'll be really cool, because that'll be our first foray into cattle.
Yeah. Like, so my experience with cattle is like maybe 2 or 3 different days
Hmm.
where, we run them through a chute, give them their immunizations, uh, band whatever steer needed banded,
Yeah.
and that's about it. So actually, like dealing with like zero experience, and that was part of the reason that I went for an ag science degree, and I was mostly trying to focus on large animal science and everything like that.
Hmm.
So, but even then, it's so much of that doesn't necessarily apply to regenerative agriculture. It's more designed and targeted towards the industrial model.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, when it comes to like living area layout, how you design a pen, um, you know, how do you set up your chute to run cattle through it so that a way that they're not hurting themselves, you're not in danger, like minimizing the risks there
Hmm.
doesn't really apply to us. Like when we go to like when we went out to Tyner Pond, they don't have to put they don't have to herd their cattle into a herding pen in order to load them in the trailer. The cattle are so used to being moved on a daily basis, they just walk into the trailer. They,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
that's one thing I love about regenerative methodologies. Things tend to be a lot more simpler, like especially methods like that. It ends up being like, I don't know, it just somehow gets more complicated than it needs to be in
yeah.
certain situations.
Yeah. And I think, once again, we don't have any experience with this. So, at face value, that's the way it looks. Like when we go to farm tours, that's the way it feels.
Hmm.
We'll definitely know here in a couple of years if that's how it is.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll be documenting the whole process. So
yeah, man, I am so excited to get cattle, man.
yeah, what else? What else should we cover? Do we leave anything out?
Uh, that's happened this week. I don't really think so. Next week is, I always said, Coffee Hut, and Coffee Hut's going to be a big focus next week. Your mom, thankfully, takes care of almost all the mowing and stuff like that around the farm. We should start to see bud bloom here soon, which means coning will be coming up very soon.
Yep.
And then, yeah, yeah. Yeah, those magazines that your dad gave me to read,
Hmm.
green cover, and then the annual, I think that was the Ohio Christmas Tree Association catalog, I think is the other one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So the green cover one, which is our seed source that I forgot to say correctly
Hmm.
or mention in any meaningful way last time. Um, so green cover, that magazine is so stinking good.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you finished with it?
No,
Okay.
I'm not as fast as a rubber reader as your dad is.
Let me know because I haven't looked at that one yet.
Yeah. So like your dad said, like the bulk of the magazine is stories that tie to the principles of regenerative agriculture. The first like 2-3 pages of the magazine is where it's biblically tied.
Mm.
And it is a very fascinating way to look at regenerative agriculture. And like, so they talk about I think he's one of the co-founders. Um, I believe it was a co-founder. Uh, he's coined a phrase, stuminion, which is a mixture of stewardship and dominion. So stewardship over the land and everything like that, dominion over the land, and how to do that within a biblical way that is not a slap in the face to creation.
Mm.
Which,
Yeah, Joel Salatin talks a lot about or he kind of has like a similar philosophy.
Right. Well, and they kind of all have a similar philosophy, but it's, since our brains all work in a different way, we can paint a little bit of a different picture with our words and everything like that. And the way he paints this picture, like I was talking to your dad about it, it's like, I've always kind of thought of it that way, but to read it that way, just kind of connect dots that I hadn't fully connected.
Mm.
So it was really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but I think we could talk about that more in a different podcast and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the cover crop aspect of what we're doing in Field 7 and how we're restoring that might be a good future episode to talk about.
Yeah,
We can go into a lot of different rabbit holes.
a lot of different. Well, not only that, hey, things that should be so simple make me feel so dumb sometimes.
Right.
Like when we were setting up, we had to set up the cultivation seeder, and we were doing a test strip to figure out how much poundage we're going to put per acre. So your dad's out there and he already has the calculations in his head. He knows exactly what we're doing. Based on the width of the seeder, we're going to do a stretch that's 80 feet or 100 feet. And then multiply it by this in order to get how much seed we're putting down per acre. And like just the amount of math involved.
There's a formula.
Right.
That you have to calibrate the machine for.
And he just walks through it so fast. And so I'm just like, okay. We're
one time.
We're definitely going to have to walk through that at least 2 to 3 more times, or write the formula down on a piece of paper, because I remember 20% of it.
Yeah.
At best. So, yeah, when you said, I think 2 podcasts on the first podcast, your dad's definitely the brains
behind the operation.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure. We all play a unique part, but let's go ahead and wrap this up. I hope we've been going on for quite a while.
Okay.
So thanks for, if anyone has made it this far, leave a comment. Let me know if you have liked this video, for crying out loud, because no one's made it this far. So we can say whatever we want, right?
I mean, Nicole watches all of them.
Even if I don't even think she made it this far.
I don't know.
Pumpernickel. If you made it this far, comment Pumpernickel. Pumpernickel. All right, let's wrap it up. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Doodles.